Hello everyone, welcome back to the next session of SAP Security. In this session we will be discussing about SAP Security Upgrade. Whenever you are upgrading an SAP system, security upgrade also a very important task in the SAP upgrade. In a bigger organization or bigger systems, in a bigger system it will become very important and it's very complicated. In my experience, people underestimate security upgrade. In a smaller system, maybe it works fine without much issues, but in a bigger and complex system, you have to plan well ahead in SAP security upgrade during the upgrade process. If you don't plan it properly, then this can create a big headache after upgrade. You also seen in practical scenarios this happens. So please, if you are upgrading a bigger systems, please analyze the system before starting the upgrade. So SAP provides standard steps and a tool to upgrade your SAP security during the upgrade process. The transaction which we will be using for SAP upgrade is SU25, the same transaction which we have seen in our previous session. That SU25 we have, when you run SU25 it looks like this. We have couple of steps. We have some 6 steps. So in this 6 steps, if you execute properly, then your execution is completed. But the complication is that some of the bigger systems, or you have done lot of changes in the SU24, then this may not be the right way to do it. Or if you are using some additional add-on tools on top of your security setups, then this may not be the right way to do it because you are too complex. So let's see each steps one by one, then we will understand this very clear. So the step number 1, initializing the profile generator. Initially fill the custom table. If you have not yet used the profile generator, or you want to copy all the SAP default value, again use this initial fill procedure for customer table. So we know what is customer table, what is SAP delivered table. So when you run this specific step, so if you want to run, just click here, then it will start running. So when you run this specific step, what it does, it copies all the SAP default value to the customer table. This you have to do if it is a new system. For let's say if you are in an upgrade process, the system is quite many years old and we have done lot of changes in the SU24 from the SAP delivered ones. So if you run this particular step, what is going to happen, the customer table is going to filled with all the SAP default values, which is really a risky part. So be careful to run this particular step number 1. It can reset all your changes to SAP default. However, if you like to clean up your changes during the SAP upgrade process, then this is the best time to do it. Because during the upgrade process you will have additional authorization object which is being created, which may be used in a new old transaction codes. Then these type of things will be resetted and you can set the changes whatever you have done in comparison with some of the quality or other systems which you have still in the old version, and you can change it back. That is one way of doing it. Perhaps that is the best way of doing it. But the point here is that you should be aware that you are going to change the customer table with the SAP standard table, which is going to have an impact. So what we can do is you can make a list of the changes what you have done in your customer table before you start the upgrade. Then you do an upgrade, then you initialize everything back, then you can put back these changes. But still, if it is a bigger system, the lot of changes, then it's complicated. You are going to do it manual, so you can come to a conclusion whether it's really required or not. Or in cases, many of the cases what I have seen, people simply skip this first step. That could be another way of looking into it. Then we come to step number 2. In step number 2 we have 4 different steps: 2A, 2B and 2C and 2D. 2A, in this step, this execute the profile generator comparison program. What it does, this compares the new SAP delivered table with customer table. That means, as we seen in the step 1, that if you execute the step 1, it is going to refresh everything to the initial SAP delivered format. So instead of that, you can compromise your process or somehow adjust without executing the step 1. You can compromise the process in the step 2 and following processes. So the step 2A, it will compare the SAP default with the customer delivered with the customer table. So what step B will do, it will add any new transaction. It will check any new transaction code. If it is there, then it will add it to the customer table. The step C, the step 2C, it will flag all the roles which has a new authorization object. In step 2D, it will display all the roles which are changed in the transaction code. So the authorization checks which we have added in the new transaction code, which needs to be updated in this custom table, USOBTC and USOBXC. This can be easily done by SU24. Let's see each and every step, these 4 steps, one by one. Then we will understand this far better. So the step 2A, what it does, this compares the profile generator data from the previous release with the current release. The new default values are written in the customer table with the profile generator. So it will automatically what it does is it will compare the old and new values, and if it is a new values available, it automatically fills in our customer data. You only need to perform the manual adjustment later. That means in the next step, the transaction which were changed, you need to manually add these fields, and anyway we will come to that step. It will automatically marked. It will not be too complicated to do that, because this step 2C anyway marks all the roles which needs to be changed or which needs to be checked. The step 2B, so in this step what it will do is it will give you the list of comparison, or it will give you the details of all the comparisons which was done in the previous steps. Then you can compare the previous and the new version and the SAP default based on the SAP default. And if you want to do any changes further in this custom table, then you can still do it in the step 2B. The previous steps which does a comparison from the old version to new version, then it will give you a suggestion in step 2B. It will give you a list of object which will be added in this customer table. Then in the step 2B, you can review these new objects, and if you wanted to do any changes still in SU24 in comparison with your old changes, you can still do it in step 2B. Next is step 2C. In step 2C, it gives you the list of roles that is affected based on the new authorization object which is added in the upgraded version. So from this suggestion, what you can do is, okay, this will flag all the roles, yeah, what needs to be changed. Then it is not going to change all the value automatically, as you know. Then we need to go to each and every role and check what is the additional authorization object which is being proposed, and see, review one by one and do the changes. And remember, this is not going to do the transport automatically, that you have to create a transport for the specific changes of the roles. In the previous to be, it will create a workbench change by its own. It will pop you to create a TR, then you can create a TR. In this case, whenever you do a role change, if you save the role, and as you know, it will not give you a pop-up to do the transport. So we need to transport manually. We need to list down all the roles what you are going to change in this particular specific step, then keep a note of all the roles what is being changed. Then once you are done everything, then create a transport request only for that specific role. In step 2D, this will give you the list of transaction code which is replaced with new transaction code, because this is a very important step. So we need to take all the new transaction code, and we also need to come to some conclusion that new transaction code is added to which roles. Referring to the old transaction code, we can add to the new transaction code. Let's say if it is just a technical upgrade, then you may not do it, but if it is a functional upgrade, you will still do it. Even in some technical upgrade, you have to do it, because if the old transaction is not at all usable and you need to replace with the new transaction code, then you have to do this one. So these are all the steps you will be doing when you are upgrading an SAP system. So first one is the initialization, second 2A is execution and comparison. In this, it will compare the SAP old version with the new version, and it will give you the suggestion for the customer table. In the step 2B, you can change these values in SU24, which will be anyway done in SU25, and which will in turn affect the SU24. And in step 2C, it will identify all the roles which needs to be changed, that you can change it there. You can go to each and every role and change. And step 2D, it will give you the display. It will give the old and new roles which has been replaced with the new roles, then which also need to be added into those specific roles. In an actual upgrade scenario, that you may face quite number of issues. Basically, when you do this upgrade and you do not have a proper indication that whether this process is completed or not, or if the process is running or not. After completion, of course, you will get a message, but sometime you don't know whether this process is running or not. So always go to the background process and check whether this process is running, or you can ask some of your basis colleagues to check it whether this process is running. Then make sure this is running. Don't trigger it again. If you trigger it again, then it will give you some more problems. So this is one way of doing the upgrade, but you have an alternate. Let's say I don't want to use this SU25 at all. You can still do an upgrade. How do we do that? We have a next process. This is a different way of doing it, but SAP recommends SU25, but this is, maybe you can use it for your estimation of your efforts, how much efforts you need to do it. As you know that we have two main profiles, one is called SAP All, another is called SAP New. The SAP All profile means it has all SAP authorization in the SAP All profile. The SAP New is a delta objects which is created during the new development of SAP. So whenever there is a new version comes on SAP, then they will update the SAP New, and they will send it to you. So when you go to SAP new in your profile, then you can see each version, and it contains a sub profile. This sub profile gives you the objects which was added in this particular version. So if let's say I want to see the difference from 6.4 to 7, then if I take this sub profile, then what are all the objects inside? This is the objects which is created new. Then what we can do is, instead of doing SU24, I take all this authorization object, I go to the SAP standard table and see, okay, these are all the authorization objects which is currently added, which are all the transaction code which is using this. Then I check each and every transaction code whether it's really need to add this one. Then I will add this authorization object manually. Why do I need to do this? Why are we talking about this option? Anyway, we have SAP provide a standard tool. As I said before, using SAP menu is a little complicated one. The previous SU24 works perfectly fine if you use the menu. If let's say you don't use the menu and you added lot of authorization objects manually into the role, then that is not going to work, because as soon as you do a steps 2C, it is going to check all the menus what is available. It is going to propose quite a lot of objects based on what is not there. Meaning to say, you added some transaction code in the menu, after that you deleted these objects. In this particular upgrade steps, all these objects will come as an additional proposal for you to change. So it's little tricky and complicated. So you need to be very careful. So you need to make a judgment which will be a best way to do it. So if you don't use the SAP menu and it is not properly maintained, maybe that is not the best way to do it. In a small SAP upgrade, small user based, okay, SU25 is the best option. Just go click everything, you got a automated whole proposal, just upgrade it, then finished. But if it is a complex scenario, same like what I said, that you are adding all the objects and authorization fields manually into the roles, and you deleted lot of authorization, you change lot of things in SU24, then that may not be a nice way of doing it. Then this is one suggestion to do it. Yeah, this may not be correct. Yeah, this may be also not 100% correct. This is one practical way of doing it. Otherwise, what we can do is, you take a download of ST22 which is standard from the old one and the new one, make a comparison of each transaction code. So that is the best way to do. That's what this SU25 is going to do for you. So you have to do it manually, because when SU25 does, it will go back to SU24 and what is written there based on what is in your customer table. So if you do ST22 and download manually, then you compare with an Excel sheet, then you will get an idea what needs to be done. You can go to the table and download everything from the table. And this is one more easier way to find out what are all the authorization object which was changed from one version to another version. Then you know, okay, this many authorization object, then you can come to a conclusion, okay, if this many authorization object, this many transaction codes are going to be affected, then you will come to an count of roles which needs to be changed. And this is another way of analyzing the new authorization object which is added in your SAP. Let's go to our system and check the tables. SC16, the table name which we discussing is I need to cut this USOBT and USOBX. Let's go to the transaction code SE16 table browsing, then put the table name USOBX. This is the first table. Here you got name, object changed by when it was changed and stuff like this. Name means transaction code. Let's see. Let's take some transaction code which we know. Maybe I take PFCG. So if you look into this table, this is the name of the transaction code PFCG. Then these are all the objects which is assigned to this transaction code, and you can say the check flag whether it is yes or no. Yeah, well, we have maintained it here. Yes. So you know what all the authorization objects are going to be checked. Actually, this is the table which is being displayed in your SU22, and this is table USOBX, and let's check the next table. This table, what happens is it gives you the values, it gives you the objects and field values. The ones what also we will get it from our SU22 as a default values. Go to SU22. Sorry. If we go PFCG, then these are all the default values. Which you will get it from this SU22. Upgrade process, what I said is that you compare this SU22, that you can go to this table and download this table, and let's say take all the transaction codes. So as we discussed previously, that instead of doing SU25, we can take these objects from these tables. Let's say I go to my SAP new profile. I got all the authorization objects and put all the authorization objects here and check in this table where it is being used in the new system. Then I get all the transaction code which is be used by default for the new authorization objects. Then I can go, say, with reference to that transaction code, I can go back and add the objects to the specific role if it is too complex, as we discussed before. And this is the another way of doing it. Then you need to put it in an Excel sheet, the old one and new one, and make couple of VLOOKUPs here and there and make a comparison. Then you will come to a conclusion. Okay, these are all the roles which has the roles which has a new authorization object. Then you can adjust these roles manually. With this, we are coming to the end of the session. Thank you very much for listening. I will see you in the next session. Bye bye.